Hello, and today we're looking at rivers and reservoirs and water abstraction from them. So we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at the environmental effects of river abstraction, and then we're going to look at the environmental effects of reservoirs. So to start with then, the environmental effects of river abstraction. Um, this can be very sustainable because water might be abstracted from a river, used for something, and then put back into the river so it can continue flowing down the hill. And as long as it's cleaned before it's added back in, then this is going to be sustainable. However, quite often water is used to carry away things like wastes, things like industrial pollution, agricultural pollution, and domestic pollution. Um, and these will obviously also get added into the river and washed away. Alternatively, some of the water that is abstracted from the river is used for things like irrigation, and it might not make its way back to the river, it would evaporate. And this means that the river flow is reduced. So not only do we get sort of pollution being added to it, but it might actually be less diluted than it otherwise would be, because we might also be extracting water from the river that does not flow back into the river, decreasing downstream flow. And this reduced downstream flow can result in any downstream wetlands, and these are important habitats for a lot of species. Things like lakes might dry up because they are no longer receiving enough flow into them to make up the loss through evaporation, or rivers stop flowing. And it becomes just a dry riverbed that might occasionally have a bit of storm flow down it, but otherwise is entirely dry. And there's a lot of rivers where that has happened through over abstraction upstream. So the other thing we want to look at then is the environmental effects of reservoirs. Now, reservoirs are very important because they store water during seasonal variations. So you might have periods when it's much wetter, like in the winter or a monsoon, and periods where it's much drier, like the summer or dry periods. And the use of a reservoir helps to store that water over that period of time. But it has impacts on the environment around it. So first one you get is habitat change. So you have the flooding of a valley, which will destroy previous habitat. And quite often these habitats might be something that's quite rare, so things like wetlands in the bottom of a valley, and the loss of those will be quite significant. However, it can also create new wetland habitats. So these might be more valuable than those lost. They form a barrier to wildlife. So the dam that holds back the water prevents fish migrations. So species of fish like sturgeon or salmon cannot migrate up or down the river because there's a dam in the way. And this is important because they breed in rivers, in river headwaters, so at the top in the shallow streams, but live in the sea. So they need to be able to move between those, and they can also help recolonize areas after bad years. However, if there is a dam in the way,